Hello everybody and welcome. This is the Midnight McBride show, show number 71. And this week's show is called Bounce Back Becky. And that's because I've got Theta Priestess, Becky Jade with me in the studio. Hello Becky.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've never had a Theta Priestess before.
Great, glad to be the first.
Maybe before we get into it properly, because we're going to go on your journey and talk about your life and how you arrived in this present moment, tell us briefly, what is a Theta Priestess?
Briefly is going to be a challenge for me and the modality. So Theta Healing is a practitioner from Vianna Stibel.
From?
Vianna Stibel is the founder.
Okay.
So Theta is... it's basically, as we grow and develop, we have lots of beliefs and we build beliefs like as we grow from children that we take on from our parents, from our experiences. Some of those beliefs can be quite limiting. So Theta Healing is a modality that works putting you into a Theta meditative brain state. And it helps to dig around what's going on with you, what are your limiting beliefs, and helps you lift them and release them and reprogram you with more positive downloads in order for you to be released and move forward.
Very good. I thought we were going to go off on a tangent there, but you managed that.
I can put my commercial head on if I need to and behave.
Yeah. The brain operates. You've got they use the Latin names, don't they? So you've got beta waves and
delta waves, gamma waves, theta wave. Yes,
exactly. And it's bringing yourself into this state.
Yeah, into a deep meditative theta state.
Right. Okay. So Becky, how we met, and this is quite interesting. We've got Jenny Berry, who's been on the show recently with me, and then she did another show recently, what I call a back-to-back show, which hasn't been heard yet, with Liam Brown. And Jenny was introduced to Liam by you.
Yes.
And then Jenny introduced me to Liam, and then through Liam I met his Yoga Rebels, and I've had many guests on this show, all part of Liam's posse, and my tribe too now, beautiful people. Yes. So you were sort of the instigator of all of this.
If you getting introduced to Liam and Jenny, Jenny was.
Yeah. So how did you know Jenny?
Oh gosh, Jenny's a family friend. So actually my mum and her mum met in hospital when my mum was having me and her mum was having her brother.
Right, so you go back...
Way back.
22 years.
Yeah,
I'm teasing.
if I'm 22.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll take that, yeah.
How old are you, Becky?
Oh God, 41.
41.
It's just an age. It's
of
just
course
a number.
it is. I'm 48, 49 this year. So it becomes irrelevant when you get past 40. It really doesn't matter, you know. You just keep yourself healthy and keep this right.
Yeah,
you know.
mental mind, yeah.
Yeah. So people who watch this show regularly and know what we do, and I say your past doesn't define you, it's just your view on the journey to this present moment. Yeah. So we talk about somebody's life, and then quite often with what they're doing now, it all starts to click in and make sense. We understand what drives them, motivates them, and why they do the things they do. And we're going to do your journey today, Becky. And it all started in Eccles in Salford.
It did, yeah. Hope Hospital, the one and only.
See, I didn't used to spend a great deal of time in Salford until I started doing the radio show and I'm on Salford City Radio. So I was there every week for a long time. And also I used to go to parties there when we've been clubbing and stuff, but we'll get to that. So this is where your journey started. Are you an only child?
No, I've got a younger brother.
How old's your younger brother now?
He's 2.5 years younger than me. So what's that make him? 38, 39
20.
this year? Yeah, 20.
What's your brother called?
Ben.
Okay. And which school did you go to?
So I went to Wentworth High School in Eccles.
And how was that?
Fine, yeah. I mean, I guess I was just one of those middle-of-the-ground kids, to be honest, at school. So kind of I floated around different sets. So never necessarily the most coolest kid, but not like what you'd class as geeks. I know it's a derogatory term, but at that time, growing up. So I just kind of, so school was all right for me, really.
See, we'll get to this in a bit, but clearly you're a highly intelligent woman because... By your own declaration, you pissed around at university and you still got a first. I pissed around at university and I barely scraped through.
Managed to pull it out of the bag last minute.
But I mean, I really did piss around at university. I mean, I remember going to a particular lecture. I don't talk about this in too much detail, but we had an ecstasy tablet and we smoked it on the way into the law lecture, and we didn't even make it across the railway bridge. We fell asleep on the railway bridge. 3 hours later, went back to our halls of residence. That was what it was like.
Yeah,
so,
I can resonate with that story completely.
And that's when you're daft and young enough where you think smoking an ecstasy tablet is a good idea.
Yeah, or snorting it.
Yeah, all of that burns, doesn't it? But yeah, You said that as you were younger, cleaning cars was sort of your thing for your pocket money.
Yeah, well, I had lots of avenues to get pocket money. So my dad's definitely taught us like that whole work hard, play hard ethic. So my dad's a second-hand car dealer. So yeah, he would take me down to the pitch and I'd have to clean cars to get money. But even my mum would have me like cleaning the cupboards, cleaning the doors. It wasn't like child labour. I know, I'm like, that sounds like it's like child labour, like slave labour. But I think it's just instilling that good like work ethic and understanding the value of money.
Did your dad have a sheepskin coat?
Do you know what? Funnily
like
enough,
Delboy?
I don't ever remember him having one, but he does tell a story of when I was a little. He'd got this new sheepskin coat, and he thought it was like the bee's knees, and he'd been like burping me before he went out to meet his mates in the pub, and I was sick down the back of it. So he did have one. I've not seen the photographic evidence, but he actually did have one. And he also got them. Do you remember the massive big mobile phones? He was one of the first to get the really big phones.
When I was 19 years old, I had what they call an NEC P100, and it was like one of the first mobile phones. It was a brick, and I thought it was the bee's knees. I had like a jacket on. I was selling speed, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought
Proper drug dealer.
Yeah, I thought I was all this, and I must have looked like a right bellend. But there we go. You moved around as a kid. You said Salford, but Droylsden as well.
Salford, went to Droylsden because that's where my mum's family's from and my dad's pitch was, and then we ended up also moving to Spain for a stint.
Right. Why? What happened there?
Why? I think because mum and dad just wanted to, like, the idea being is like my dad was obviously going to carry on his business in the UK and he'd fly over and that we'd have a life over there. The period that we went ended up being like one of the biggest heat waves in Spain and it was quite unbearable. So we went like before school had finished, then we spent into the summer term, and then by the time the schools were returning, I think my parents had well and truly decided to come back. Yeah. It's been a bit like my dad continuously wants to keep moving over there, but it's my mum who keeps him. I say more in the UK. They split the time between the two locations.
Are they still together?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And do they still live in Manchester?
So they live. My parents moved to Warrington. Right. When I was still at uni, I think it was, because they like literally downsized so they could like spend more of the time in Spain and stuff. And Dad like sold his business, and they've got that lovely idyllic kind of life where like my mum had me when she was 21. So like, you know, I was growing up when they were still young enough to be enjoying and having their own life. So they split the time between England and Spain.
Yeah. You said that you experienced usual teenage angst.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that entail? Because for me, it might be very different than it was for you.
Oh, I mean, like, yeah, look, everyone's got a story and stories don't define you. So, yeah, obviously just some things that happen when you're, like, growing up. But I guess the teenage angst bit specifically is just, you know, gosh, I actually ended up going to see a counsellor when I was 14 or 15? But it was just those big, like, I was very spiritual. I always felt really like, I used to call it God at the time, would call it creator or source energy now, and energy of all that is. Yeah. But always felt really connected. And then so many things were happening to me, around me, and to people I loved, and deaths and things like that, and bad stuff. And I was a bit like, fuck you, creator. Like, I've had enough, like, all the time, God, I've had enough.
You had a few people, including a dog, die in quick succession, didn't you?
Yeah, like my great Aunt Nora, the dog, and then my Nana June, who I was really, really close to, my mum's mum. And that had a really big impact on my granddad, who I was adored, and he'd turned into alcoholism and just deteriorated rapidly as a man. He didn't actually pass away for a number of years later, but I effectively lost my granddad on the same time as I lost my Nana, because he'd been in love with my Nana since he was something like 12 years old. Yeah. But then I started having that whole head expansion experience where, like, you know, you're just starting to learn about your soul and your body and leaving your body and like realizing that there's so much more out there, and you question everything. Yeah. And then, like, where'd you go with that? And at the time, I just used to lie awake at night having all these questions. And sometimes now I can recognise, like, that empathy in me of picking up on other people's emotions and being affected by what was happening. But at the time, I could just suddenly feel depressed for no reason. And I was like, where's that come from? Is it mine? Is it not mine? Like, why do I feel sad? Or then I'd be, like, challenging and questioning so much in my mind. And I didn't know necessarily how to process it all. So I went to the doctor with it, and they tried to write me a prescription. And even then, I was quite strong-willed. And that was before I'd found recreational drugs, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I went to do like talking therapy about it.
Yeah. I know my teens were a strange time. I was very spiritual for a while. And then I got to sort of my late teens, early 20s, became disconnected from that. Yeah. And then there's like a 20-year blackout. Yeah. Where I just went partying, and I became completely disconnected. It was only after my nervous breakdown when I was, 41, something like that, 42, when I properly reconnected. And for that whole period, I was violent, I was taking drugs, I was miserable. And Yeah, it's strange. It was like that person doesn't exist anymore now. That person's gone.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? So many people you talk to on a spiritual path or have, because we talk about this awakening, don't they? I think for many of us, it's actually a reawakening. We're all connected when we're born. A lot of us are very spiritual at a younger age, and then it seems to be this key period around your teenage times and your early 20s where you become disconnected and you look to other avenues.
You've been programmed by school.
Exactly.
And you become... I say all careers advisors need careers advice. You say, right, the compass you use to navigate is what's going to earn you the most money, what's going to get you the biggest car, the biggest house, give you the most power, control, status. Really, the compass to navigate through life should simply be, does this make you happy?
Yeah.
And does it benefit other people?
Absolutely. And not only that, it's like, what are the tools to equip you as a person? What are your unique strengths? What is your personality? Yeah. How do you shine? We don't do that. We put people in the education system and we want to dull them, buff them, make them fit in a box. My daughter's got like dyspraxia, dyscalculia, dyslexia, and all we're trying to do is equip her. That's as she comes out, still shining the bright. Like, she's so emotionally intelligent and creative, and I don't want the school programming to like program it out of her like it dulled me, you know?
That's what they try and do, yeah.
Of course they do.
I say in the book, there's no happy class. It's not even on the syllabus. The most important job you have as a human being, while you're in this spacesuit for a brief time in this realm, is to be happy. Because when you're happy, you give that to everybody else. Yeah. That's how you live the consciousness of the planet and the world. And it's not on the syllabus. They don't teach you how to meditate. They don't teach you about social skills. They don't teach you about good mental health. It's money, 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 money. So when you get to 18, 19, whatever, you leave the schooling system. Most of us are quite miserable. Then we hit the recreational drugs. And generally, a spiritual awakening or the shift, something along these lines happens. You get to your late 30s, maybe early 40s, and it's part or a necessary part of a spiritual awakening. The shift, you know, you can call it a midlife crisis, whatever.
I was just going to say the same thing. Like, a lot of people say, midlife crisis, but actually is it not just the fact that life's not spat you out, but you've gone through the processes and plans that you think, the steps that you think you need to take, and then all of a sudden you're like, hang on a minute, what's just happened? I've got a moment now to pause and reflect, and that can, it can impact you in different ways, can't it?
Yeah. It's like being on a treadmill. I say some people figure it out, but when you're on that treadmill, you run at 100 miles an hour, there's this race with no finish line, and I got thrown off it. And then I looked back and I thought, what have I been doing for 20 years? And you reawaken, exactly like you said, you sort of figure it all out again. And you have to rebuild, and the shell breaks, it cracks, and you've got to start again. And that's what I had to do.
Well, a lot of people have that, don't they? A lot of people have like a big event. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a big event to awaken up. You don't have to have a dark night of the soul like many of us have had, but you don't necessarily need to have that to continue on your spiritual journey. But yeah, a lot of people do have that event that like actually like shocks them. It's like, oh, actually, what's happening? Like, what am I doing? Like, something happens, like it's a breakdown. I had my divorce, like husband and affair, which I'm sure we'll get to, and then a toxic relationship, and that was all made me think, actually, hang on a minute, whose life am I living, and for who? Is this for myself? Because it wasn't.
Maybe tell us briefly, we'll just touch on it now, but you went clubbing, you got to your 20s, you're clubbing. Which clubs did you go to?
Crasher, Cream, Money Pennies, Sankey Soaps. Yeah, I missed the Haas because I was just like a little bit too young. It was just closing, bowlers. So I was that girl that would talk to anyone. Dancing as well, but like into chat, making loads of friends. But yeah, I mean, there were times that we were learning. We were learning about like freedom, weren't we? Getting out there and discovering there was a big world.
I was the guy on the podium with a big bag of cocaine in his pocket, a big bag of pills in the other pocket, 17, 18 stone, dancing all night and not sleeping for 3-4 days, regular. I didn't sleep at weekends for nearly 20 years.
Oh gosh, that's a long time. I think mine was probably not as long as that. It's like 4 years maybe,
Most of my friends, they got to sort of the 30s, maybe sort of early 30s, and then they started settling down, have kids and all that. I was like, I've not done yet. I have not finished. But that's why probably my breakdown was more severe than other people's. Rather than a gentle change in direction, I hit a brick wall. So.
Yeah, I had a couple of things that like helped me, if you like, because I always knew I was going to go to university, like that was my path. And so even though I had a year out, I had I went to university, I had that come in, so I had then the opportunity to connect to different people. But I carried on clubbing through the start of uni, as I said, like messed around. But I also had quite a terrifying experience on ecstasy where I left my body. Now I've had that actually in the past, and I have expanded my soul out. At the time, it's scary as shit when you're like
first time.
Well, especially under the influence as well. I really did think I was like dying, and like I remember like specifically like talking myself back in because it was quite a scary experience. So I didn't touch E after that. But then obviously coke was still quite quite a friend of mine, I thought. And but then it scared me how it changed me and how I started to need it.
It's very, very destructive drug, cocaine.
Yeah.
Underestimated. It starts off casual, you're having a few lines when you're drinking. Then you start having it when you're not drinking.
Yep.
Plus, if you're drinking with it, alcohol and cocaine are the two most commonly taken drugs together. And you've zero willpower. You have 2 pints in, you think, right, okay, I need some coke. Because I had a lot of cocaine around me, I used to sell coke. I had an unlimited supply and I was, ravaged by it for years. It starts off where you're doing it socially and then it becomes antisocial, destructive and independency.
It does.
Did for me.
And I've had those moments where boyfriend meeting me at a car park when I was working at the Trafford Centre and having a line, you know, when I'm a lunch hour. I also had like a horrible like alcoholic poisoning episode because like you're drinking when you could like you're having your line, you're having a shot, you drink like and like carrying on all the way through the night, and then all of a sudden I'd gone a bottle of rum and my stomach was like, don't like that.
I think it's really good. We're not dwelling on it, but it's good to acknowledge it and talk about it because it happened. There's no point pretending it didn't. Yeah. And when we talk about what happened, people can learn from it. So it's really important. I say you can't learn anything if we don't talk about everything. If you don't have all the information, how can you make an informed decision, a good decision? You can't. So I talk about anything, you know. I haven't come across a topic yet that is off bounds, you know, out of bounds. So.
That's all right. I always get told I've got no filter, so you're in good company.
Yeah. Oh, well, we've got to get on great. Yeah. So then you're off to university, and which uni did you go to?
Salford.
Oh, right.
I didn't venture far, did I? And that was just because of the paradigm I was locked into at the time with my friends and that safety net and the clubbing, and my boyfriend at the time was with a guy for 4 years. And so, and I'd wanted to do psychology.
Fascinating.
And,
The Road Less Travelled, Scott Peck. Have you read that?
No.
Beautiful, fantastic book.
No,
nothing more interesting in the mind. That's what excites me.
Yeah, I think my problem was that I'd gone to do my A-levels and messed around. Got told I was going to basically a few weeks before the exams that I was going to fail them, and I hadn't even handed in my coursework. My mum got called in, so I had to sort that out. And then my psychology teacher I was going to do child psychology, and she actually let me read some of her PhD work on abused children. And I think I referenced earlier, but because I was this mind of obviously I understand it now as an empath, and reading that I was like, actually no, I take that on, can I cope with that? And my mind at the time and trying to process my thoughts and understand what I was feeling and the learning, the journey that I was going on, I realised that I couldn't do it. And I was I had this massive crisis of faith of what do I do if I'm not going to be a child psychologist? Which is what I've been saying since my school choices in high school. I'm going to be, because God, you get asked at what age, 15, what you're going to be when you grow up. I mean, how mad's that?
I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up now.
I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up.
I haven't figured it out. I haven't decided yet.
I'm the same. So actually I didn't do psychology. And it was and I was going to go to Bath, and then all of a sudden I was I'll just go and do business studies, because that was the fallback option, wasn't it? So I actually did a Bachelor of Science Business Studies with Marketing Management at Salford.
And tell us what you got in that.
I got a first class degree.
How?
I don't know. Okay, no, I do know, because I had fun. And in the final year, to be fair to me, I did pick up the pace and I did go to lectures.
I did.
Oh gosh, in the final year I did. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and go, I turned up to the exams and got a first. No, of course, bollocks, I didn't do that. But what happened was I spent the first 2 years just messing around, missed everything. The second year counted to a certain percentage, I can't remember. Then I did, I was really lucky because Salford do the industrial placement. So we got to do a year, go and do a year. So I did a year in recruitment. And then that was great because I got loads of money. I tell you what as well, recruitment took me a very long time in marketing to earn the salary I was earning in my year out as a student, because selling people through recruitment. Sorry, we don't sell people.
You
just realised that sounds awful.
Human trafficking, doesn't it?
That's awful.
Look, all we need
Recruitment's not human trafficking. I take that back. Cancel, clear, delete.
I've got contacts in Salford. All we need is a couple of low loaders and we can work this out.
That would have made some serious money. But no, my final year, I definitely went back and I was like, I'm a big believer, right, in positive mental attitude, right? So I really believe in the power of the brain being able to control and help you. And I always knew I was going to get a first, it wasn't in question to me. And I can remember at the end of my placement, the regional director saying to me at the time, a exit interview from my placement, what do you think you're going to get? So I'm going to get a first. I've not been to any lectures till this point and messed around. My poor friend Kathy was giving me all her notes all the time. I'm going to get a first, obviously. And I remember him being like, oh, yeah. And I remember thinking, are you joking? Of course I am. Anyway, when I went back, I did apply myself. I did go to the library. I did study. And actually, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed like reading the journal articles, as crazy as it sounds, because I liked taking the knowledge in, and then I liked interpreting it in terms of what I thought or felt. Because with marketing, a lot of it's subjective as well, and it's not like a 2 + 2 = 4 either.
What if you're doing a subject and they say, "What's your opinion?" How can you get that wrong?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got to you've got to quote people. You've got to know that. Well. You've got to know. Like people think, "Oh, marketers, you all walk around drinking your lattes and colouring in books." Like, no, there is a lot of strategy and a lot of process and a lot of science behind marketing. I just like to defend it a little bit.
Did you not have 2 mates so you could call yourself the 3 marketeers?
3 marketeers. I like that. Yeah, should have thought about that. You should have been a marketer. It's like dating, this, isn't it? It's like we're on a date. I just don't get to ask you anything.
When you went to uni, you mentioned that you sort of cut off all your friends. You started again.
Yeah.
Because you broke up with your fella at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming
that sounds quite brutal.
if you've got joint friends, it becomes uncomfortable, and sometimes it's just easier to and start again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd met my boyfriend at the time when I was 17, and like we split just before I turned 21, and I'd been transitioning into that first year of uni and stuff, and for me, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be in that environment anymore where I was tempted. I didn't want to be that girl in the toilet knocking
tempted
up
by
drugs. Knocking on.
You know how that sounded then.
Sorry, it just sounded like something else. Sorry. But I didn't want to be that girl, like, it's 1 o'clock at a night in the club, and I know like or 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever ridiculous time it was. And then you think you've run out of your coke, you think your friend's still got some, she's hiding it from you. And you think you can hear her snorting next door, and you're like, why are you keeping it from me? I didn't want to be like that 5, 6 o'clock in the morning anymore person. Like I'd got to the stage where I wasn't, oh, look at the sunrise coming up. It was dreading it. It was closing the curtains. Let's carry on the party through the day. And I didn't want that anymore. And I did want to go to uni. I did want to try something new. And I had some friends that I'd been friends with through school, but everything was so interlinked because I had a couple of male friends. So when I met my boyfriend, obviously they naturally became friends. And then, it sounds quite cold, but there was only one person after that I continued to stay in touch with.
I've done it a couple of times in my life where I've got to a certain point, realised that this environment I've cultivated, the people around me, wasn't healthy, and sometimes it's time to disconnect and start again. Yeah. And you've got to do it. It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah, I just don't want to be derogatory about anybody or say that I'm better than anybody for walking away from it, because I wasn't. Everyone's just learning their own lessons and on their own life journey. And I'm sure they can look at me and think I was a cold-hearted bitch and just suddenly disappeared. But I just need to do what was right for me at that time.
It doesn't mean that. You can be with a group of people over here. That ain't making you feel good. It isn't working for you. Yeah. So you start again over there. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't mean that they can't continue to be and do what they are. It just means that's not for me. I was watching a documentary. I don't watch television, but what I do is I handpick, and maybe once a week I watch a film, which I like. I think that's nice if I choose the right film. And I like to watch a few documentaries. And I watched one, and it's called The Defiant Ones, and it's about Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, who were the guys that partnered up, a music producer, well, both music producers in the end, and they sold the Beats empire, for $3 billion. And it was about Jimmy Iovine, and what he did, he went through life, and each time he got to a certain point, he got there and thought, although from an outside perspective, outwardly it looked like he was incredibly successful, and he worked with Bruce Springsteen and Fleetwood Mac and all these people, but he wasn't happy. So he ditched everything and he went into a completely new direction. And with music production and engineering, he was sought after all over the world. And he just decided one day his love had gone for it, and he just walked away. Yeah. He was never frightened of downing tools and starting again. If you're on the wrong path and it's comfortable, but you're not happy, you need to get off that path. And sometimes that takes a bit of courage. You've got to remove the fear of change.
Yeah.
Bounce back, Becky. They're in. So you began your commercial career in food and marketing?
Food and drink marketing,
Food and drink marketing. What's that? Pie? Coffee? What?
Okay, interesting you mentioned pies, because I did used to have to sign off like fresh off the production line at 6 o'clock in the morning, the lovely pie samples. So that was a very delightful job, especially on a hangover.
Did you put weight on?
Do you know what? I actually did a little bit. Yeah, I was eating a lot of pizzas and a lot of pies and a lot of like sausages. Yeah, got on a meat factory. That's another delightful experience.
In your notes, you say that you met your ex-husband through work.
Yeah.
There's no mention of Northern foods or pies. It's Vimto.
Vimto, yes.
How's that?
So Okay, so when I actually graduated, I actually started doing post-grad work and wanted to be a lecturer in marketing. But I realised that with marketing, I thought it would be better to have actual practical knowledge.
Yes.
So I decided I had to go out into the big wide world. So actually, when I first graduated, I was working at the University of Salford with a consultant lecturer, and then my first job was in Vimto.
Right. This is the place in Manchester, the Vimto.
Yeah, they're in Newton the Willows,
Yes.
and I actually work for them now. So Matt, you mentioned my husband. We met at Vimto when I was there the first time round.
I see. I didn't know whether you meant over a glass of Vimto or whether you meant in the Vimto factory or at the Vimto statue or...
Oh, no, that would have been a more romantic story. Like I was meeting across the Vimto statue or across a glass of Vimto.
There's Vimto Park, isn't there, near the Gay Village in Manchester as well?
There is, yeah. And there's like Vimto monuments and there's Vimto apartments and stuff. And obviously because it's born and bred in from Salford, Manchester. So yeah, there's a lot of Vimto love in the Northwest. But no, we actually met while working there.
You get married at 29.
Yeah. First baby at 30.
Yep.
Second baby at like 32.
Okay, so these are both with the same fella?
Yes.
Okay, and this didn't work out, did it, this relationship?
Yeah, my ex-husband, great guy, lovely dad. We had, 2 kids very close together. I hadn't gone back to work from John West Foods after my son because the commute and the hours, and took a few years out of marketing. I'd only just gone back into the commercial world, working 3 days a week at Vimto. So I'd gone back to Vimto because it's a lovely company. I always wanted to go back, and it's just the usual cliche. Let's just say that. Look, he was working in London. I was at home, with 2 young kids trying to work as well. He was feeling lonely, and had an affair with someone at work, but obviously don't want to say any names because I don't know if her husband ever found out, but just one of those things.
So this was the cause of your breakup then?
Yeah, so it was a really tough year. I mean, I'd just gone back to work. I was dealing with that. My little boy, William, was having a tough time going to nursery. He wasn't liking it. Like, he was like projectile vomiting, not sleeping. Managed to get him into a childminder. I'd got pregnant with our third and had an accident. It wasn't a massive, big car accident, like no dramatic story, just someone coming off the motorway shunted into the back of us. I just got my brand new Q5 from work as well. Right. I was very proud of that car. At the time, I've learned there's other things to be valuable of now, to value now. But at the time, it was my pride and joy. It was a few weeks old. But actually, it helped us because we were on the road coming up off the motorway and the car just came up at speed into the back. But obviously, Q5s are a very sturdy car and they're high up. So actually, they just kind of went under and lifted our car up. But yeah, I didn't realise I'd miscarried at that point because it was a few weeks later till it took effect. So it'd been a pretty tough year, and I did what a lot of us do. It was a bottle of wine a night and a tub of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah. Would that have been baby number 4?
So that was baby number 3. I've got 3 now, but at that time, that would have been baby number 3 with my ex-husband. Yeah. He, he'd been connected with this woman before that and was connected with her after it, and it was at the Christmas time that I found out. So yeah, it was just too much for me. It cauterised it, Yeah. He is a man with very good values. He's not an evil person. He's a good friend now, and we've managed to get a really good relationship for our children out of it all. But for me, I married him and fell in love with him for the good man he was. But that act that he did, for whatever reasons, and he, that's his story, that's his to live with. It just was too much for me.
People can be on the same path and then they grow apart and there can be somebody else involved. Yeah. And at this point, it's, if you can stay amicable and it takes time, but then become amicable and stay friends, especially when you've got common interests, your children and stuff, then a few years down the line, you just accept that you're different people, you have different lives now. But yeah, if you can stay friends, that's, I'm assuming that's how it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even about how it is now. It was like how it was from the start. I think I said this to you earlier, like I am a big believer in shit happens to you, life throws stuff up, it's how you deal with it and how you respond. And something I've always been passionate about is not like getting consumed with the bitterness. When all this happened, what was I going to do? Sit there in hatred and resentment and bitterness and have all this revenge against him? Because ultimately, who would that hurt? It would hurt me and my children. Yeah. So very early on, I mean, my friend Sally, she always says you're my heroine, just because it was his birthday a few weeks later and I still baked him a cake with the kids and we still did the presents and we still carried on all that. That's not me being like, oh, look at me. How great am I? That was the right thing to do at the time with 2 very young children. I've never badmouthed him to the children. you know, their understanding of it is that we just fell out of love, because why would I diminish their hero, their father, in their minds? You know, they're too young to understand that he made a mistake, and that's normal human experience. He's living his own experiences in life.
Anger or resentment, these kind of feelings, they're just like a hot coal, and the person carrying it is the person it burns. That's the person it does the most damage to. You've got to get rid of that shit.
Yeah,
you know,
agree.
Doesn't serve you. And once you do get rid of it, and you can then usually just look back and go, well, hey, well, that happened. Let's look over there now and just start moving towards the light again, you know?
Yeah, and also to just point out, in getting rid of it, that doesn't mean throwing that hot rock at someone else.
This is the point, not giving it to somebody else.
Not launching
it's putting it down.
It's putting it down.
Yes.
And letting it burn out.
Then I said I was going to tease you a little bit about this.
Okay.
But online dating. I've never done it. I've never looked at an online dating site.
Divorced and dating in the digital age, my goodness. The people who were working with me at that time had some, they were loving living their life through me with the stories. Honestly, goodness me.
Tinder, Grindr.
It was Tinder at the time. Not
I
Grindr.
think Grindr's the gay one, is it? I don't know. But,
it was Tinder for me. It was men I was after. And yeah, gosh, that was an eye-opener, you know, and... Look, arguably I went on it too soon. I didn't give myself enough time to heal. The output
you don't do any healing on Tinder, do you?
Well, that's exactly the point, isn't it? I think for me it was like, so I went on it for two reasons. One was that I did want to go on it to like date and meet people. So I was kind of like matching with men of a similar age, similar kind of like, you know, a professional capacity, maybe who had kids themselves, and to go for dinner.
Is it for professional people?
That's what I'm saying. There's different people. So I did that.
Okay.
But then I also matched with the 10-year younger.
Oh, that's a category, is it?
Men. No, you can put your ages on, can't you? I'm just saying my approach.
Right.
So if you don't know what Tinder is, oh my goodness me. So literally you can put like the age group that you want, you can put your geographical region that you want to search under, and your age, that bracket that you're interested in. And now like this is like 5-6 years ago, and now I think you can do all sorts of like matching on different things, and there's all sorts of stuff going on with it now.
Want some with big hands or whatever.
Put very specific specifications down. But yeah, I mean, for me, it started out to like just get myself out there, and then, you know, I guess it was, I spent so much time and energy making sure that I wasn't letting the kids feel it, and I wasn't letting the anger, resentment build. I didn't give myself enough time to really heal.
Yeah.
And look after myself and nourish myself, and realise that I had there were certain cycles that have been repeating themselves through my life, and I wasn't learning my lessons.
No. We all do it. We all have these patterns, and it's breaking those patterns. It's recognising them. You can't break them till you see them.
Yeah.
To see them, you have to pause and get perspective, focus and clarity. Once you see those patterns, then you can say, that's what I've been doing. Well, I need to stop that. You know,
but you don't see it when you're in it. You know, we're these enlightened souls living these very human experiences, and we're here to learn in this school of planet Earth. And
exactly, this is what I was saying about a treadmill before. I didn't know I was on a treadmill until I got thrown off it, and then I looked back and I thought, my God, I've been on this treadmill running at full speed for 20 years, and I didn't know I was on it. When you're on it, you're so busy and consumed by trying to keep up that you forget what your motivation is, you know, why you're doing it.
Yeah. And like for me, you know, I mean, I just didn't learn my lessons, and I kept getting taught them, and the scenarios, well, there's some brutal scenarios at a very early age, but they keep repeating in your life till like you realise and you wake up, don't they? So yeah, I had probably a 5 or 6 month period where I'd started to I was like looking for my self-worth in the wrong places, should we put it that way? Yeah. So, you know, part of it, I guess, as much as I was saying, don't take any negative energy on, but I'm learning that part of it was a little bit of kind of maybe revenge mentality, as like, I'll show him, you know, look at me now, like get him at, like I'm out there and living my best life, and these men are attracted to me, and I'm having more orgasms than when I was with you, you know, that type of thing, you know, because maybe that was a bit of like negative energy, and I was looking to make myself feel good as well.
Maybe it was just part of the process, something you needed to go through. Yeah.
And do you know what? I've made it sound like a really negative experience. I had some really good experiences, and I had some really enjoyable moments.
I'm sure you did. Yes, I'm sure you did. Yeah. You said that you actually thought you'd found your Prince Charming. Was this through a dating site?
Yeah, through Tinder.
Right.
Yeah. So I met my ex-boyfriend through Tinder. thought I'd found my Prince Charming, turned into a frog. He'd probably say the same about me. Toxic relationship, lots of lies. But you live and learn, don't you? And we've got a baby, though, out of it.
He's the father of Reggie, is it?
Yeah, my third, Reggie.
Right.
So I always wanted 3 children. I always felt that soul of the miscarriage of my ex-husband. It was always a gap in my life. It was always missed. I always felt like I was supposed to be a mother of 3.
Yeah.
So I realised, as much as the lessons that relationship taught me and are still teaching me, it was also my opportunity to have that soul come into my life and for Reggie to be born.
Tell us the name of all your kids and how old they are.
Yes, so I've got Emmy, he's 10, soon to be 11, Wills is 9 and Reggie 3.
I see. I've seen a picture of them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and you look very happy.
Yeah, I love being a mum, and that was one of the things I'm proud of. I have got some kind of regrets around kind of, things happen to you in life and you look back as a mum, you're like, oh, was I present enough when I was dealing with a lot of this stuff that's happened? But actually, yeah, because I am the mum who'll climb the tree with the kids, who'll go and dig for the worms. And
Brilliant.
When we're having family time, I'm the happiest.
Yeah. And kids, society now, a lot of people are basically, they wake up, check the phone, then they're on a computer all day, then they come home, then they're on their iPad.
Yeah.
Then they're watching television, and it's just screen. And
Yeah.
they're disconnected from the things that feed us the energy of Gaia, the earth and nature.
Yeah.
And so being outside with kids is massively important.
Oh, 100% agree. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm this purist mum who my kids don't have devices, because that's absolute bollocks. If you know me in the morning when I'm trying to get 3 kids out the house and they're on having iPad time, or if I need to relax or chill out and I'm doing something, they have iPad time. But
just about balance.
It's balance. So I'm lucky enough to live where I can walk to school and walk back again. So you're getting that. We've got 2 dogs. So every day they have some sort of walk. And then absolutely at the weekend, we're always out, at the National Trust, the local forest. And when I say out, I'm talking a few hours every weekend.
This is what you're saying there makes a lot of sense to me. Number one is making it integral, so putting things in your routine that mean as part of your daily routine that you're going out. So it can be the walk to school. Do the walk, not the drive. This kind of, if you can.
Yeah.
It's maybe in the evening, putting that time aside, allocating it and making it part of your timetable.
Yes.
And at weekends, I do it with Sundays. Sundays, that's my day.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I worked the Sundays. And now, Sundays, we head out and we go and we'll be in a forest, by a stream, near the seaside, whatever. But getting that time. But you've got to plan it and factor it in. Or
you have to make sure it's in your diary. I mean, with lockdown, the benefit of the whole situation for me is I got more time with my children. So when we were able to, even in like the colder months, if it was nice enough, in that lunch hour, you're outside and you're having your lunch outside, factoring in factoring in those moments to get out.
We joked about off camera that you're a baby making machine and that I wouldn't look at you because you'd get pregnant, so but you've certainly had 2 in very close succession. You perhaps would have had a third. Obviously had the car crash, very sad.
Yeah.
But then you've got Reggie now as well. And so you're a single mum again.
Yes,
with 3 kids.
Yes,
and I'm assuming that's a full-time job. It's very busy.
Yeah, it's had its challenges. I mean, last year, obviously working from home with 3 of them was challenging. Like I was referencing my ex-husband before, but like I say, we've got a really good partnership now and he helps 50-50 with Emmy and Wills. So, without that, I might have gone a little bit more crazy.
Yeah. I think I've always said this with children, if 2 parents are together and it's abrasive and they're not getting on, and for many years, families stay together and say, we're staying together because of the kids. Completely wrong. You're better with 2 parents that are independent, that are separate, that aren't together and that are happy and love seeing the kids. And they see the kids half as much, but it gives the other parent a break. And it can work. It can be a great arrangement and you make the most of it. Families that stay together because of the kids, using this as an excuse, where they're falling out all the time and the kids are around that and they don't get a break themselves. And that, if it isn't working, fix it, and that fixing it doesn't necessarily mean forcing something. It means creating space and doing what you need to do to work as a family unit, even if the parents are apart. Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more. Teachers have even commented about how well we've dealt with it and the children just benefit. So, if it's a kid's birthday party, we share that and we'll blow out the cake together. And, if I need to change because I'm coming here, for example, he'll go and pick the kids up. We're flexible with each other. The kids see us getting on and they see us as partners in parenting.
Yeah, that's a brilliant term as well. And I think, like you said, if you're both flexible and when things change. Actually, can you help me out here and whatever?
Yeah.
And then when it's on the flip side, you'll do the same, and that's a good arrangement.
Yeah.
It's amicable. It's friendly. This then is the start. This period. So you're single again, and COVID happened, and this is the start of your transformation. Prior to this, the Reiki and the Theta Priestess and being vegan and stuff, were these things, are these all new, or were some of them before that?
Yeah, so no, it's a good question. So I referenced it, I was very spiritual as a teenager. I've always like been interested in like your oracle cards, so I've like played around with those for like quite a few years, crystals, that type of thing. Then a few years ago, the gorgeous Becky Hampson, my yoga teacher, introduced me to use Sutui Reiki. And then, yeah.
So that was pre-lock. You were
This
doing
is a
Reiki
few years
before?
ago, yeah.
And Reiki was the start of it then?
Yeah, probably. Well, the oracles, the crystals, and then, yeah, I'd always been interested in Reiki and had Reiki treatments and had massage and cupping. And I've always had a lot of, like, I've always, like, experimented going to have holistic treatments done on myself.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'd never done is practice to do it myself and other people. Does that make sense? Like, learn the modality. Yeah. And then this time last year, obviously lockdown, and I found Tina Pavlou and the Goddess Rooms and mantras in pajamas. So Tina does mantras in pajamas in the morning. So we sing, we go up to Theta and we clear space and
is this
do
all
downloads.
online, this?
Yeah, online.
Right,
so she goes on Facebook on a live and does the mantras for the month, and we work with essential oils and downloads. Found that, obviously, I'd already been doing yoga and Pilates for like 20 years, but found Liam with his 2 hours of like yoga and dance on a Sunday, which was just amazing for me to bring in like all the chakra work and the releasing and the dancing with the yoga. Was just loved it.
So these are his yoga raves you've been...
Yeah, but he was, what did he used to call them when they were on a Sunday? I think, did he still call them a yoga rave? Because he used to do it live on a Sunday. Sorry, Liam, I can't remember what you called them. But basically on a Sunday he'd go live, and for 2 hours you'd dance, and then his brother would be on the decks and he'd do his, you do a bit of yoga and then you dance again. So I was doing that, and obviously then I went started cacao ceremonies, and that was amazing, like learning the gorgeous plant medicine of cacao and that heart opening. And I've just like, and then everything's just like massively accelerated. So I went and did angelic Reiki training, did that, learned about Theta, and I've done 6 courses now today on Theta. So really throw myself in.
So what is a Theta Priestess?
So Theta Priestess is my terminology. So I've just done a 3-month priestess codes. So that's all about learning about the priestesses, like releasing trauma in your womb energy, connecting to your creative energy. And it's a modality from Tina Pavlou that she's been channeled and brings in Theta and priestess work. So, so for me, obviously I'm a Theta practitioner, and I'm just like stepping out. And what I like is, I like learning about all these different modalities so that I can channel and work with what makes sense to me.
Yes.
So for me, what does the Theta, what's the priestess? This is all about, working with women to help empower women, for them to release any like negative beliefs, anything that's holding them back, for them to connect to their sexual energy, for them to just to feel empowered within self, and just to grow and awaken and just acknowledge and know their journey and their highest and best, really.
Okay, Jade, this is something I've been dying to ask you. So, what is a Yoni? And what are the I don't know the correct term, is it the womb herbs or the
Yoni steaming?
Yes.
The Yoni eggs.
What's all this about?
It's all about the practice of just releasing trauma from that area and helping.
Have you got a traumatised Yoni?
A traumatised fanny. So, everyone has, don't they? I mean, think about anyone that it's not about like if you've had sexual abuse. It's even just like partners that you've had sex with, and that residual energy that's lying there. Is it still serving you? Do you even want it as part of you? And it's anything that we can hold trauma in our womb and in our Yoni space from a variety of different places.
So is the Yoni or Yoni?
Do you know what? I'm pretty sure there's probably a million different pronunciations of it. I'm going with Yoni because that's how I say it, but feel free to correct me anybody if it's wrong.
Is the Yoni the crystal, or is the Yoni the name?
The Yoni Shifani.
Right, okay.
And that entry point in your womb energy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on and there's different definitions and explanations, isn't it? But your Yoni's all about your vaginal energy and your womb.
And is that term, it's like, for example, it's not an Ayurvedic term. Where does it come from, Yoni?
Do you know what? I should know this and I don't know. Can I Google it? Can I ask a friend?
Of course, yes.
Tina would tell me, I was like, you should know this, Becky. I can't remember where that comes from. But a Yoni egg, so for example, there's like, you can work with like a jade egg, a rose quartz, or a black obsidian, and the traditional Yoni eggs.
And you put this in?
So it's an egg
Yes.
that you put in. You traditionally go through jade for healing, and rose quartz for love, and then your black obsidian is usually a final one, but you can work in whatever order you want.
And do you sort of, is it half an hour at night, you pop it in, you leave it in all day? What? I don't...
Yeah, so I'll talk to you about that, that's fine. So there's different things that you can do with the Yoni egg. I never thought I'd be sitting here telling you all about it, but that's
yeah,
cool.
Let's do it.
So so there's different things that you can do. So obviously you can just put it in and do just basic Kegel exercises. So just put it in, dance around with it, make sure it doesn't fall out, so you're strengthening your inner walls.
Yes.
But if you're doing that with a jade egg, obviously that jade crystal's been part of Mother Earth. Think about all that knowledge, all that nourishment it's collected. It's been here for eons, hasn't it? So it's all about, like, from my perspective, how I use it is I would go up and into Theta with creative all that is, and connect with the egg and connect with it in terms of what I want it to be working on. And for me, jade at the moment and healing, and then I would insert the egg. You can have a string coming down the egg, so you can massage as well internally to help release trauma as well, also for sexual pleasure, both.
Okay.
But you can also put it in there, and it's nice to do some sexy dance with it in. Often what I do is after a Yoni steaming,
Now, what's
I'd
that?
put it in, but it literally is you're squatting over some herbs, and that the steam's going up your fanny, basically.
Okay. So you pour boiling water on the herbs and that, or do you burn them? Or
Yeah,
what?
so you have a specific like Yoni dish, and then you put your chosen herbs in. Not just chosen herbs, don't go out to the garden and pick any random old crap. Sorry, just to be specific. These are very specific selected herbs that you can buy from like Yoni practitioners, and then you put them in and you put the water in, and when obviously that's at an okay level for you to squat over, you can squat. Now, to be honest, you can get them on Amazon, and then they sit over your toilet. So mine's just from Amazon, like amazing little like mythical shop. And I put the herbs in, brew them up, and then I just like squat over them, usually on a new moon or full moon.
And what's that supposed to do?
Help cleanse and release the trauma.
Right.
Lots of different things. I mean, like there's, from my perspective, this is a practice that I'm doing for myself. It's not something that I would sit down and give someone a program to do on them.
No.
It's something I do for my own health and well-being. But there's a lot of people out there who can really guide you and can link it to proper womb massage as well. So there's a lot of like women out there who are very experienced in womb work, womb massage, externally and internally, and working all this space.
This is something you've done recently as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so I've done that as part of like my priestess coach training, and I've done it on myself, So the Yoni steaming, doing it like in the new moon, and I'm doing my mantras and my journaling, nice herbal tea, candlelight, and just giving myself some goddess time, basically, some priestess time.
The moon, I talk about the moon a lot, and I've got all the cycles of the moon written down.
Yes.
The exact times. At those times, I set an alarm. I do certain things depending on the phase of the moon. It has a massive impact on whether at that time I need to be making time to relax and disconnect, whether at that time I need to focus on where I want to be and I start manifesting different phases of the moon. The moon has a massive impact on me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people I talk to, obviously more so female, has a massive impact on them also.
Yeah. And not only, it's also where the moon is, like from an astrological perspective and time of year perspective as well, isn't it? Because obviously right now we know we're coming into like the start of the astrological calendar now, and obviously we've got spring equinox coming up, and we've got it's all the rebirth. So I'm with you, like the moon is a very, very powerful force on our lives and our emotions, and I think it's very, like from my perspective, I found it very important to be aware of the moon and its cycles, how it's connected astrologically, where I am, where we are in the seasons, and just working with working with the right crystals, with the it's that holistic word, isn't it? But it's that whole holistic piece, isn't it? I know it's a very overused word, but that's what you're talking about. It's like all of that together.
It all makes perfect sense to me. What we talked about before we filmed this show, I was saying about you have to be very careful what you put in your body and what you surround yourself with. And that doesn't just mean the room you're in or nature. It means the people, those energies that your environment are created from. And for me, that includes the earth, the planets, the stars. It all makes perfect sense. They're going to have, imagine this, the object closest to the earth that has the greatest gravitational pull is the moon, the one that's closest. And we know the effect it has on the tide and where the word lunatic comes from, and that's
Exactly.
why still to this day that they have to up the staff on
full moons.
Yeah, exactly, because they used to call it water on the brain before they had more terms for it, but mental illness and madness. And if people did have water on the brain, the greatest pull from the moon on the Earth's gravitational field is when there's a full moon, and so when there's a full moon, it increases the pressure on the brain. It all made sense to me. It all made sense. And
But I ask you, how many of those people, this mental illness, how many were really mentally ill? How many were just awakened and tapping into stuff that...
oh yeah, I'm going back to the days where they called them lunatic asylums, and they did crazy experiments. And yeah, basically, if you were a lady and you were surrounded by birds and trees and using herbs, you're a witch. You know, I'm not talking about my opinions and thoughts. I'm saying this is how people were viewed at the time. And so, yeah.
I am a witch, by the way.
I know
quite
many.
proud to...
I've had many on the show. Yeah, well, a few anyway. Yeah, it's so funny if you look back and go through history. The things now that seem so ridiculous, at that time, people accepted it, and it's only with perspective. Usually, every 50 years, you look back and you see how crazy, and you always say, "Oh God, I can't believe they did that. That would never happen." But if you're born into that and you don't know any different, quite often you accept it. So, having, apartheid seems insane to me. Corporal punishment seems insane to me. And burning witches and the Crusades, and there's so many things that seem, and the Spanish Inquisition, all of these things seem insane to me now. But at the time, people didn't know any different. Yeah. I always ask myself, what's happening right now that in 50 years we'll look back and it'll be no different than witchcraft or slavery or these kind of things? And for me, it's probably it's the mass production and eating of animals. It's the eating meat. Yeah. That's with 50 years we'll look back and we'll say, I can't believe they went along with that. If I was born, I would never go along with that. But most of us do.
And just, gosh, what we put into our bodies, like that, the whole meat, I fully agree with you. But even just down to the chemicals and everything, like the deodorants we put on, what we clean our teeth with, bleach, like our cleaning products, all the chemicals, all the toxins. Yeah, I've just recently found The Medical Medium, and that's like just a fascinating read. And I'm going to do one of his cleanses in April when it's the right time for me. But the amount of toxins that we're taking into our bodies and what it does to our bodies and illnesses, like people are getting old and having these illnesses, and not realising, looking for answers in like, oh, it must be this or it must be that. But actually, is it not just the fact of like you've lived a life of like putting bad shit basically in your body from all sorts of sources?
I think when we're born into this world as children, we've got a big toe permanently dipped in pure consciousness. We're still connected.
Agreed.
And then as we get older, we become a little bit more twisted and warped, and the external world affects us and we become damaged, And the things that we put in our bodies, now I only drink filtered water. I only use hemp toothpaste. I can make a whole list of things that 10 years ago I would have thought, it's a load of nonsense that. Now, but it's chemicals from every direction, whether it's in the food, the products. A lot of it is to do with the things we take for granted, you don't question. Water and toothpaste, huge.
Massive. Big impact.
Yeah, so filtered water, and I only use this hemp toothpaste now. And just from those, I can feel and notice a difference to my body.
It's all about your vibrations. And we're just being programmed. We're being reprogrammed into the matrix. I don't mind saying it. But, and a lot of this stuff we put into us brings our vibe down. Yeah. Although I have to say, I'm moving to natural deodorant. I'm struggling with it at the moment. My body's adapting to it. I'm like, that natural earthy smell. I mean, I don't even use perfume anymore. Like, I've gone from being... Like, my friends laugh at me on this vegan journey. In fact, my friend Louise straight away was like, can I have your Mulberry handbags? I was like, well, no, because I've already purchased them. It's better that I see through Might not buy any more, but I'm not going to give them up. But like, I've like fully like, embraced the vegan and the natural products and stuff. Just becoming more aware of what I've like, putting in and the difference it's making to me. And like, not even like, not going out and buying my fancy perfumes anymore, just using essential oils. Using my essential oils.
Very similar. I'd be driving around in a new Merc. I'd have an Omega watch on. I'd have designer gear on, all this kind of thing. But at the same time, the material stuff came with unhappiness. I was taking loads of drugs. I had a drug dependency. I was violent, and I had a mental breakdown. Post that now, I'm quite careful about what I put in my body. It's not perfect, but I certainly try and improve it. I buy all my clothes. If I don't buy many, but the Primark, Asda, that's what I wear. I don't care. It just doesn't matter to me anymore. I drive around in a car that works, and I'm very happy about that. And the designer thing just went out the window a long time ago, and I'm so much happier.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't need that stuff anymore. I never really needed it, but was convinced I was up until the end of my teens. And then I was clearly unhappy. And once you figure it all out, you have the breakdown, you figure it all out, and you think, God, I've been told a load of shit. That's all bollocks. Yeah. Actually, this is what I should be doing. Yeah. And then happiness follows.
I think, and you're right, it's that whole, for me, it's that just remembering and just centering back. For me, it's like creating that like pure energy of unconditional love and the energy of all that is, and just like, you know, and that's all you need, isn't it? But I do have to say though, as much as I've definitely changed in terms of where I put my value, so definitely loved like my Audis in the past, like my designers, like some of my friends would listen to some like, oh God, Becky, you are the queen of like the makeup and buying, like, you know, having the brands like the Chanel like Chanel glasses or whatever. Yeah. But and for me, there's definitely been a big shift in that in the last couple of years and this last year as well. So where I would have spent money 2 years ago is drastically different to where I'll be spending it now and in the future. And it's, you know, completely different. And also, like, I'm not saying I'm perfect now. I'm like, and I've come out this dark night of the soul this horrible year, and this amazing, you know, it's a journey. I'm still learning. I'm still evolving.
In the process of change.
I'm in the process of change, yeah.
Yeah.
A little change triangle as well.
Is it? Shows that?
Well, it's lots of different symbols, but yeah, I mean, I've got quite a few tattoos, but that one, sometimes the smallest mean the most, don't they?
Oh, yes. I've seen little tattoos dotted around you.
Yeah,
yes.
Little ones. I've got a few big ones as well, but yeah, mother maiden, crone, and my 3 children, fire sign, the strength of the triangle, the pyramid, the strength of that, and...
These ones you can see on my arm now, that's an Iron Man tattoo. This is, I went to Spain and did the Madrid Marathon, and my friend who I ran it with, his daughter, drew a picture of us both. So we both had that's her drawing.
That's gorgeous.
That is a lotus flower with the initials of the people that very first time I did ayahuasca. And that is in Lakesh, which is, you are another me. It's a Mayan greeting. You are another me. I could go. I'm covered.
My kids did that. Well, I had some stars done when I went to Texas, and then my little girl designed that. So 3 stars are my children, and then that was my daughter. So like,
beautiful.
But I mean, I've got like a few bits and pieces. But what I mean to you, although toxins.
It is, but tattoo. This is how I explain a tattoo. It's an external emotional scar. So you don't wake up on a Monday and think, I'm going to get a big tattoo of this for no real reason. Usually, there's a bereavement, a breakup in a relationship, a shift in energies, something changes.
Yes.
And you think, okay. And you either remember something or you're moving forward into a new era.
Yes.
And so every tattoo I have means something.
Agree.
You know, and so they're external emotional scars.
I like that. Even the fairy on my arse means something.
Well, I've got a butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I went in a tattoo shop. There's a funny story. There's 6 lads. I think we were 15 or 16, went in a tattoo shop, and I'd forgot my wallet. And I had no money on me. I said, somebody lend us a money. And they went, no. I said, give me some money. And they went, right, you can have a £5. The only tattoo in the shop was a ladybird for a £5. The butterfly was a £10. So I had to go back the week after and I got a butterfly.
I like a ladybird. I think you got a ladybird.
It's barely a tattoo.
But, so I've got the Chinese symbols on my lower back as well.
Yeah, well, we've all got it.
It doesn't matter. They meant something. The symbols mean something.
$2,000 on this tattoo. It took weeks and weeks to get all this. Out of the darkness comes great strength, phoenix rising from the ashes. And then I bought a lightning through the middle for £50 to cover somebody's name up.
I love that. Brilliant.
Yeah. I joked about the fact that you are a marketeer, a musketeer by day, but then at night you'll be doing, or weekends, you'll be doing your theta, your reiki, your yoni magic, whatever it is. And you're like Batman. You've got these 2 worlds.
I've got my priestess outfit waiting to put on when it gets to 5 o'clock. It's like, reveal the priestess within.
And it has a yoni flap.
Yeah.
Like crotchless yoni priestess outfit.
That is a vision. I love it. But Yoni priestess by night. Yeah, love that. Yeah.
We'll talk about what's next for Becky Jade because we're in the present moment now. We're talking about a lot of things you've been doing. A lot of it's happened recently in the last year or so as well. You know, a lot of change. But you've now got, I noticed in the last week or so on Facebook, your new logo.
Yes.
Things are happening. What's happening?
Yes. Well, I just, I started out a few years ago thinking, oh yeah, I've gone this Reiki and I'd like to do it at some point in the future. Obviously, we've talked about this last year and acceleration that's been for me in terms of like just wanting to consume and know everything. And I started out like, right, I'm going to finish my Reiki Masters and start teaching it and start like doing Reiki on people. And then, which I've been doing, I've been doing Reiki. But then it's one of those things, isn't it? You can't be the wounded healer. You've got to do the work on yourself.
Yeah.
And as like my mentor Tina would say, like, you can only go as deep with others as you've gone within yourself. So yeah, and obviously I've had a lot of things that have been happening this last year to me, my external and personal environment. And I had a lot of stuff to deal with. I had to go back and go, actually, have I dealt with that from when I was that age? Have I dealt with that? Have I, what's holding me back? Because I was tapping in, I was waking up. But what did I have to deal with to really rediscover myself and stand in my power?
Quite often as well, you'll think, I've dealt with that, and they'll come back again. And you think, oh, I thought I dealt with that. Okay,
Yeah.
I've not. Obviously, I've not done.
Yeah.
A bit deeper. And things just keep coming back and coming
Of course,
back.
and
They're
there's
not-
layers,
Yeah.
and we hold stuff on there's like 4 belief levels in Theta, but you're holding cells, you're holding things in your cells, your physical body holds emotions. We know that through yoga and like the hips, and when you work, I did some of Liam's sessions last year, and I ended up crying at the end of them because you're working through the emotions in your physical body. You're releasing so much stored.
Similar to that, I've been to many gong baths, sound baths, and Nicola Telsa says if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency.
Yeah.
And you hit these gongs and stuff,
Yeah.
and you've been trying for months, you've been meditating, yoga, you're
Yeah.
trying to get rid of these trapped energies, you can't. Hit a gong, and that will resonate with a different part of your body, and it will release this trapped energy. And I've seen people in floods of tears after, tears of
Yeah.
joy.
Absolutely, sound healing's that's another modality I want to learn more of, and I'll do
Yeah.
my Tibetan sound bowl myself and tuning forks. But everything, all of these healing things, like absolutely. But just to say, on that note, what you just said, someone could have done sound healing for years and years and years, and then also walk into a yoga practice and have a different release. I believe, this is my belief, we store things in different ways and in different layers and different levels, and so it's all it's about working through from a physiological, a physical, a mental, a spiritual. There's lots of different aspects, and that's why I've loved discovering Theta, because it's like the glue that for me that holds it all together.
Yeah.
It's that connection for source energy, and then you can channel from the angelic realms to do your angelic Reiki. You can connect down to the crystal plane, and you can work with your crystal energy, and you can work on the sixth plane with your sounds. And
It's like fixing the operating system first, which enables you to do everything else.
yeah. I'm still on my journey. I'm going to be on my journey till the end, till I'm 118 years, because I've seen it, years old. But yeah, so
Just do that again.
118 years old.
Looks like you rehearsed that. Yeah.
And so this is just like it's a continuous journey of evolution, learning. But for me, like in terms of what's next, like I've spent a lot of time like working on myself, and then people were saying to me like people are coming to me as clients like, why aren't you doing more to like to bring people in? And I trust that the right people will come at the right time, and things will just naturally fall into place.
Yeah.
And then Jenny was just like, oh, I've got this guy called Patrick, I think you're going to connect with him, and like and then the next thing she shared something and I'd commented, and then here I am, and hence then I was like, oh, maybe I should just create a platform that's a bit more public. So yeah, and then at the end of this year I want to be doing my teacher training, so that next year I can start actually do teacher training.
Yeah. For the record, you have connected with me.
Yay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, definitely have. I think you're wonderful. You're beautiful energy.
Oh, thank you.
And you have something very special.
Oh, thank you. Make me cry.
No. Yes. I'd like to tell people what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So when this show goes live, underneath in the text on YouTube, we're going to put links under there so that people can come straight to you to find you.
Okay.
So maybe just tell us, for example, if they want to find you on your Facebook business page, what do they look for? What's your handle?
Becky Jade.
Just type in Becky Jade, spell it for us.
BECKYJADE.
Space.
No, just Becky Jade. And then when you're searching, my logo's quite striking. It's Jade Green, Becky Jade.
Okay.
And it's my triangle, which I was talking about,
Yes.
with the like evil eye inside.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Instagram?
Yes, so Becky Jade Light Up, because
Okay.
I want to light everyone up.
All one word again?
Becky Jade Light Up. Yes.
LIGHTUP.
Yes.
Okay. And you have a website that's imminent.
Yes.
That's going to go out very soon, possibly even before this show goes live.
Yes.
What I'll do, if that website is live, by the time this show goes on YouTube, I'll put the link for that also underneath.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Becky, and I am very happy you came into the studio today. This morning, I had a little bit of a dip. I'm in a process of change. There's lots happening at the minute, and I had a little break from the podcast for a week or so because of things that have happened, and I just needed to stop for a little while, just for a week while I put myself back together again. And you have lifted my spirits, my energy, and I feel great being in your company.
Good.
Yeah. And I think you're a wonderful human being. Becky keeps bouncing back.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
Becky Jade is back on track. She's moving forward, moving towards the light, and that's evident.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, folks, I'm going to leave you with a quote from my book, written by me, From Pills to Peace, and the quote's written by myself, and it's simply this: if you never give up, it's impossible to fail. Success is inevitable if you never give up. Keep moving forward. Keep moving towards the light. Don't be frightened of change. Be prepared to make choices and decisions which mean that you may have to change path. You may have to move in a new direction. I say a successful life is simply this. It's one good decision followed by another. One good decision on its own is just a deviation. Two good decisions in succession creates a new path. You change direction and off you go. Keep moving forward. And this show was called Bounce Back Becky. You can catch this show every Monday and every Thursday on YouTube. 3 days later, it goes live as an audio podcast on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, Google, Amazon, and many others. You can listen to the radio show every Monday night, 11 p.m. till midnight on Salford City Radio, 94.4 FM, or midnight till midnight. You can go to the website, midnightmcbride.com. You can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and others. You can buy the paperback book and the Kindle book on Amazon, loads of other places, and you can get the audio book on Audible, ACX, and iTunes. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you soon. Shalom. you.